Welcome to the deep dive. Today, I want you to picture something pretty different for one of the oldest industries around: construction. What if, right from day one, everyone involved, the owner, the architect, the contractor, what if they worked like a single, unified team?
Not just talking about teamwork, but actually structured that way,
Well,
legally bound.
exactly. Imagine tossing out all the usual tension, the finger pointing, the blame game that just seems baked into so many projects.
And replacing it with shared goals, collective success.
That's what we're digging into today: integrated project delivery, or IPD. It's not just another buzzword. It's a really fundamental rethink of how buildings get built.
Yeah, and our mission today is to really explore that shift, how IPD tries to move beyond those traditional, often adversarial models. We'll look at its core ideas, the structure, the practices that make it tick.
And the potential benefits to faster, better, maybe even cheaper projects. But also, we need to be real about the challenges, the hurdles it faces.
It's a big deal, a contractual and philosophical change, aiming to get everyone pulling in the same direction.
And we've pulled together insights from all over project management guides like the PMBOK, construction law texts, BIM handbooks, even real-world case studies, so you get the full picture.
Right, so let's unpack this. It's a genuinely transformative concept.
Okay, so before we jump headfirst into IPD, we kind of need to understand what it's reacting against, right? Like, what's the typical way things have been done?
Yeah, the traditional model. And honestly, it often feels like it's designed for conflict, not collaboration.
How so? What makes it inherently adversarial?
Well, look at the contracts. Our sources point out they often spell out in detail things like change orders, time and material work, premium or overtime work, winter conditions,
Okay.
and the requirements for the general contractor in those situations. They're often much more precise than the architect's specs. So right away, you've got this setup for potential disputes. Everyone's watching their own back.
Right. And that feeds into what my sources call the siloed approach. You've got the owner over here, the designer there, the contractor somewhere else.
Each in their own world, basically, protecting their own interests, their own bottom line.
And that makes accountability tricky, doesn't it? One source mentioned it's hard to pin down responsibility compared to, say, a carpenter making sure something's level. It gets fuzzy.
Totally fuzzy. And the money flow adds another layer of complexity, another potential friction point. Think about a subcontractor getting paid.
Uh-huh.
Their invoice goes through the project manager who has the contracts. But, and this is key, the subcontractor is not actually paid until the owner has made payment to the general contractor.
So it's a chain reaction if there's a delay upstream.
Everyone downstream feels it. It creates this cascade of risk, potential cash flow issues, resentment. Definitely not building trust.
You can just feel the tension. I read this anecdote about a builder Jim getting frustrated because the architects show up super late with key info, like where the stairs go.
Oh, classic.
Yeah. And it holds up his whole framing plan. His crew is ready to go, but they can't. It's a perfect example of that breakdown in communication, in workflow. It's all sequential, one step after another, often without enough coordination.
And even approaches that try to bridge the gap, like design and build, aren't always a perfect fix. It sounds like a package deal, right?
Yeah.
Owner hires one entity.
Seems simpler.
It can be, but sometimes the owner still hires a consultant first to do some design work, and then those obligations get novated, transferred to the design-build contractor later.
So you still have handoffs, still potential for things to get lost in translation or for expectations to not quite line up.
Exactly. Complexity persists.
And the bottom line for you, the listener, maybe the project owner, all these handoffs, these separate interests, the potential conflict, it just leads to delays, cost overruns, quality issues.
It's almost predictable, unfortunately.
Yeah, like that builder Jim forgetting to budget for lights or dealing with paint spec issues from a past job. Individual bits go over budget, creating stress, maybe forcing cuts elsewhere. It's a constant balancing act, often fueled by conflict.
And that's the environment IPD is trying to completely overhaul.
Okay, so given all those problems baked into the traditional system, IPD steps in. How does it fundamentally change things? You said it's a radical shift.
It really is. It moves away from fragmented, sequential, often combative ways of working towards something deeply collaborative, team-centric, everyone genuinely pulling together.
And the core idea.
It's simple but profound. Build a single, unified team from day one. Our PMBOK source talks about effective leadership, engaging everyone toward a common vision and working towards shared outcomes. IPD aims to embed that right into the project structure itself.
Getting everyone on the same page from the kickoff.
Exactly. Redefining what team means. And the
Yeah.
absolute cornerstone, the thing that makes IPD really different, is its multi-party contract.
Okay, tell me more about that. How is it different?
Well, instead of separate contracts between owner, architect, owner, contractor, et cetera, which inherently segment liability and can pit people against each other,
Right.
IPD uses one main agreement that legally binds all key players into one entity. Owner, architect, main contractor, maybe even key subs, all signing the same core document.
Wow. Okay, that is different. It forces alignment.
It completely realigns the interests of everyone involved. It's not just about separate side agreements like collateral warranties. It's a truly integrated legal framework where the collective project's success becomes the primary driver legally and financially.
So for our listeners thinking, finally maybe an end to the constant fights over change orders and budgets, how does this contract actually change behavior on those things? How does it stop the blame game around, say, a change order?
Great question. Because in the old way, a change order is often a fight, right? Who pays? Whose fault was the oversight?
Yeah, exactly.
In IPD, because everyone's financially tied together by that contract, a necessary change isn't an opportunity for one party to gain at another's expense. It becomes a collective problem.
Ah, okay.
The whole core team sits down, figures out the impact on cost, schedule, quality, and decides together the best way forward for the project. It shifts from who's footing the bill to how do we best manage this together. That shared financial stake is the motivator.
That makes sense. It changes the incentive structure completely.
Precisely. And that leads to the next crucial principle. Risk and reward are shared among the team. This isn't just a feel-good idea. It's contractually enforced.
So everyone shares in the savings if things go well, but also shares the pain if things go over budget.
Exactly. That creates this incredibly powerful incentive for true collaboration and innovation. When your financial outcome depends on the project's success, not just your part, everyone is motivated to spot problems early, find creative solutions, and work together.
It stops being a zero-sum game.
Absolutely. It becomes a win-together, lose-together situation. That shared fate drives engagement and transparency way beyond what traditional models usually achieve.
And this sounds like it goes way beyond just partnering agreements, which are sometimes bolted onto traditional contracts to encourage cooperation.
Miles beyond. Partnering is often about fostering good relationships, which is great. But IPD bakes that shared destiny into the fundamental legal and financial structure. It doesn't just hope for collaboration. It mandates and incentivizes it from the core.
So it transforms potential adversaries into actual partners, contractually.
Yes. It creates this environment where asking, how can we solve this, is the only logical path forward, because everyone's success is tied together.
Okay, so it's not just the contract. IPD needs different ways of working too, right? Different practices to make that collaboration actually happen day to day.
Definitely. The contract sets the stage, but the daily practices bring it to life. It's about creating a culture of integration.
What are some key examples?
One of the most visible is co-location, often called the big room.
The big room. Sounds literal.
It often is. It's a dedicated physical space where the key players, owners' reps, architects, lead contractor, maybe major trade partners, work side by side every day.
Wow. Not just meeting rooms, but their actual workspace.
Yeah. Project management thinking emphasizes that communication needs to be helped, not hindered, by structure. The big room does exactly that, physically breaking down communication barriers. Think whiteboards, shared screens with BIM models, constant informal interaction.
I can see how that would speed things up. For you, the client, instead of waiting for emails or scheduled meetings.
You get immediate face-to-face answers. Issues get resolved on the spot. Decisions happen faster with input from everyone right there.
Yeah.
CMAA standards talk about periodic project meetings, but co-location turbocharges that. It's constant real-time problem solving.
Like going from snail mail to a constant group chat, but in person?
Kind of, yeah. And closely related is intensive early collaboration.
Okay, what does that mean in practice?
It means instead of the design being mostly finished before the builder even sees it in detail.
Which happens a lot.
Right. Instead, decisions are made jointly, right from the beginning.
Yeah.
You get the builder's constructability expertise, the owner's operational insights, the designer's vision, all shaping the plan together early on.
So you catch potential problems or find better solutions before things get locked down.
Precisely. It shapes the project vision together. Remember that vision statement the PMBOK guide talks about? High-level expectations, target users, benefits. In IPD, everyone helps craft that, shared understanding from day one. And critically, it includes cost management from the start. The CM provides ongoing cost management services as the design evolves.
So no sticker shock later because the design went off track budget-wise.
That's the goal. Proactive cost advice reduces the need for painful redesigns later. It's about getting it right together up front.
Okay, and the third big practice you mentioned.
This one's maybe the most challenging culturally, cultivating a no-blame culture.
Ah, yes. That sounds idealistic. How does that work in construction?
It's a huge shift. But because risk and reward are shared, when something goes wrong, the focus isn't whose fault is it. It's how do we fix this system problem?
So it encourages transparency. People aren't afraid to flag issues.
Exactly. It fosters psychological safety. People feel okay admitting mistakes or raising concerns because they know everyone shares the consequences and the responsibility to find a solution. It's about fixing the process, not blaming the person.
But I mean, let's be honest, millions of dollars, reputations, doesn't that self-preservation instinct kick in? How do you really stop the blame game when something big goes wrong?
That's the critical question. And the multi-party contract is the anchor. It contractually obligates that collective response.
Okay.
So if a problem surfaces, instead of pointing fingers, the contract requires the team to come together, diagnose the root cause, often a system issue, and collaboratively figure out the solution, sharing the impact. It's not that individuals aren't accountable, but they're accountable to the team and the project's success.
So it channels that accountability differently towards collective problem solving.
Exactly. It avoids that scenario one source mentioned, where teamwork can become manipulative. Here, the shared goals and shared contract make the collaboration genuine because it's baked into everyone's self-interest to solve the problem together. It's authentic, not just performative.
Okay, this makes a lot of sense. And then you mentioned IPD often works hand in hand with other powerful methodologies, right? Like Lean and BIM.
Absolutely. Think of them as force multipliers for IPD. They fit naturally together and amplify the benefits enormously.
Let's start with lean construction. How does that fit in?
Lean is all about maximizing value and minimizing waste. It's a perfect philosophical match for IPD's focus on efficiency and collaboration. Our lean source mentions things like look-ahead planning.
Which is more than just scheduling.
Right. It's about actively identifying and removing constraints, things that could hold up work weeks in advance, ensuring materials, info, crews are ready. It also talks about phase scheduling, where the people actually doing the work at a phase plan it together.
Again, that collective ownership.
Exactly. It directly attacks delays, rework, wasted effort. Huge cost drivers in traditional projects.
Is there a way they measure this?
Yeah, a key metric is percent plan complete, or PPC. It basically asks, did we do what we said we'd do this week? And crucially, there is no partial credit.
Ooh, tough standard.
It is. But it drives reliability and accountability, fitting perfectly with IPD's shared responsibility. You make realistic commitments and you stick to them. Plus, the whole plan-do-check-act cycle encourages continuous learning. Teams constantly refine based on what worked and what didn't.
So for you, the listener, this means a much more predictable project, ideally. Less guesswork, more reliable execution because the team is constantly learning and improving.
That's the aim. That constant feedback loop, driven by data like PPT, makes the whole process more transparent and efficient. And IPD's collaborative setup makes implementing lean practices much easier.
Okay, so that's lean. What about BIM, building information modeling?
BIM is the digital powerhouse. It's way more than just 3D drawings. The BIM handbook calls it a paradigm change, an epical transition.
Strong words. What makes it so revolutionary?
It creates an intelligent digital model of the building. It allows for quick reaction to design changes because everything is linked parametrically. Change a wall, and the kick doors, windows, even structural elements update automatically.
So it drastically cuts down on errors compared to coordinating separate 2D drawings.
Massively. It becomes that single source of truth. And you're not just looking at static drawings. You're interacting with a dynamic model.
So you can see the impact of changes instantly. Like,
Yeah.
what if we use this window instead?
Exactly. You can visualize it, analyze the impact on light, energy, cost, whatever. It enables visual simulation, like 4D snapshots showing construction sequence over time, or real-time walkthroughs.
So stakeholders, like maybe a hospital team, can see how construction affects operations before it happens.
Precisely. Or judges can walk through a planned courtroom. It makes what-if explorations easy and economical, getting better feedback earlier.
That sounds incredibly useful.
And maybe one of the biggest wins is automated spatial interference checking, clash detection.
Finding where things collide, like pipes hitting beams.
Yep. In the old days, you found those clashes on site, leading to costly rework. BIM finds them digitally before construction. The CMAA standards say the CM should use BIM for clash detection to coordinate disciplines and minimize the potential for changes after the building is constructed.
Fewer nasty surprises on site for the owner. That's huge.
It really is. Plus, the BIM model is a strong base for interfacing analysis simulation cost applications. This means model-based budgeting and estimating.
So costs are tied directly to the design model.
Right, you can do options analysis and value engineering much earlier and more accurately. Instead of an estimator working in isolation, it becomes a collaborative, real-time process within the IPD team. Everyone understands the cost implications of design choices as they're made.
Making value-driven decisions easier for the whole team. Okay, so when you combine IPD's collaborative framework, Lynn's focus on efficiency, and BIM's digital power, the results should be pretty impressive, right?
That's the promise, and increasingly the reality. Delivering projects faster, with higher quality, and often under budget.
And there's proof, real-world examples.
Yeah, our lean research source surveyed several IPD projects, Sutter Medical Buildings, the Mosaic Center in Canada, Wakiva Springs in Florida, Akron Children's Hospital in Ohio. Big, complex projects.
What did they look at?
They measured successes across project team activities, owner engagement, and the impact of that multi-signatory agreement. They looked at things like collaboration, decision-making, goal alignment.
The soft stuff?
Right, but also hard outcomes, cost, schedule, energy performance, sustainability, and they even asked teams to compare the IPD project to their past traditional projects on budget, schedule, quality, and overall value.
Direct comparison, what did they find?
Really consistent benefits. Quick reaction to design changes thanks to BIM and collaboration. Significant reducing waste and allowing for faster erection from lean practices. Better consistency across all drawings and reports, reducing errors. Enhanced visualization communication through BIM. And crucially, tangible schedule reduction. Projects getting done noticeably faster. We're talking potentially 5–15% faster completion times, maybe 3–10% lower costs compared to traditional methods in some cases. These are real, measurable improvements.
And it's not just about speed and cost, right? You mentioned quality and innovation, too.
Definitely. Because everyone's invested from the start, there's this collective drive to find the best solutions, not just the easiest. The collaborative environment encourages creativity and optimization.
You leverage the whole team's brainpower from day one.
Exactly. BIM helps ensure quality control, managing changes precisely at the object level, ensuring consistency, and that proactive cost management we talked about. It avoids cutting corners later because the budget was managed well from the start.
So ultimately, for you, the client, it means a better performing building, closer to the original vision, often delivered more predictably.
That's the goal and what many successful IPD projects achieve. A better process leading to a better product.
Okay, this sounds amazing. Faster, better, cheaper, more collaborative. So the big question, why isn't everyone doing this? If IPD is so great, what's holding it back? You mentioned significant hurdles.
Yeah, and they are significant. It's not a simple switch. The biggest is probably cultural resistance.
Changing mindsets.
Exactly. Moving from that ingrained adversarial way of thinking to a no-blame, truly collaborative culture. That's a huge leap. It requires immense trust and transparency, which can be tough in an industry used to protecting individual interests and managing liability carefully.
Building that trust takes time and effort.
A lot of effort. The PMBOK guy talks about effective leadership being essential, but fostering that kind of ethical, adaptable environment in a risk-averse industry is really challenging. People have built careers in the traditional system.
And even the tools aren't always perfectly smooth, right? Like with Vim.
Right. Our BIM source needed the early idealism about a single perfect tool has faded as the scale and complexity became clearer. Workflows can still be rough, needing rigid modeling conventions. So integrating new tech and processes isn't seamless. There's technical inertia and a learning curve.
Okay, so culture and tech integration are hurdles. What else?
The legal and contractual frameworks are another massive one. Traditional construction law just isn't set up for these multi-party shared risk agreements.
The standard contracts don't fit.
Not easily. Things like collateral contracts exist, but a true IPD multi-party agreement is a fundamental legal restructuring. It changes how liability works, how insurance is handled, how disputes are resolved. Lawyers, insurers, financiers often prefer familiar territory.
They like precedents, and IPD is relatively new in the grand scheme.
Exactly. Think about the CM's traditional role in procurement, figuring out how many contracts, delivery methods like design build versus traditional. IPD requires rethinking all of that. Even insurance often needs project-specific policies covering everyone, which is different from standard individual liability policies.
So the legal and insurance industries need to adapt too.
They do. It requires significant legal innovation to run alongside the project delivery innovation. And that takes time and pioneers willing to establish those new precedents. It's moving beyond the usual general, special, and supplementary conditions.
Okay, culture, legal, contractual. What else?
The simple perception of risk, even with the potential benefits, stepping away from familiar, established models feels risky to many organizations.
Fear of the unknown.
Pretty much. Construction management emphasizes creating detailed risk management plans. But IPD requires a whole new way of assessing and allocating risk, challenging those deep norms about who holds liability for what. It can feel safer to stick with the devil, even if it's flawed.
Even though traditional methods have their own risks, like those budget overruns and delays we talked about.
Right. Traditional methods use things like control accounts and work package budget control sheets, which give a sense of individual control, even if the overall project risk isn't managed as effectively.
So IPD's challenge is convincing the industry that sharing risk actually leads to less overall risk and better outcomes for everyone.
That's the core challenge. The evidence is growing, but changing entrenched behaviors, legal structures, and risk perceptions is a slow, ongoing process. It takes success stories, education, and courage.
So wrapping this up, what we've really unpacked today is that integrated project delivery, IPD, it's not just a tweak. It's a fundamental contractual and philosophical shift.
Yeah, it's about completely realigning how people work together on a project, aiming to ditch those old adversarial relationships for genuine collaboration.
Building on practices like co-location, that intensive early teamwork, and that tricky but crucial no-blame culture.
And supercharged by lean thinking, minimizing waste, and the power of BIM for digital coordination and visualization.
The benefits seem clear from the case studies: faster, higher quality, often better budget outcomes. But those hurdles,
They're real. The cultural shift, the legal frameworks needing to catch up, the perception of risk. It means widespread adoption is still a journey, not a destination already reached.
which leaves a final thought for you, our listener. If this collaborative shared risk model really represents a better future for building, how do we as owners, designers, builders, maybe even policymakers accelerate that shift? How do we build not just better structures, but the stronger, more unified teams needed to create them? This has been The Deep Dive. Thanks for listening.